This is The Road Show, and I'm your host, David Warren. Today's guest is someone who's been on my interview bucket list for over 30 years. Now, I've been blessed to welcome her to the program a couple of times over the past 3+ decades, but only for short clips. However, today, she's my guest for the entire hour. When we come back, I will interview the incomparable Sandi Patty, also known as The Voice. Well, that is the song Sing to the Lord by today's very special guest, Sandi Patty. Where does that song rank on your favorite songs, Sandi? Welcome, by the way.
Thank you. It is always great to talk to you. Always great to be with you. Sing to the Lord. That is, there's 2 seasons in my life, before kids and after kids. That was definitely a song before kids. So that had to be 37 years ago, maybe? Mm-hmm. Wow.
What would you say your 3 favorite before kids songs are that you sang or sing?
Probably How Majestic Is Your Name is one of them. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I remember hearing that song and hearing about this new young songwriter in Nashville, Tennessee, named Michael W. Smith, and thinking, I think this kid's going to have a future here in songs. So How Majestic Is Your Name definitely was one of those. And a song called Because of Who You Are. I really loved that song, too. Because of Who You Are is a song I heard the Imperials sing. Uh-huh. And I just loved it so much that we recorded it.
Now, post-kids, what songs do you enjoy singing that are from, this era now, actually?
Yeah, which is really like the last, 37 years of my life. I really do love the story behind how I got to sing We Shall Behold Him. Mm-hmm. So We Shall Behold Him will always be very special for me, and just getting to become friends with Dottie Rambo over the years was just immensely so special, so very special. That has to be one. His Eyes on the Sparrow, which is a much older song, but mm-hmm. It's one I really didn't start singing until probably the last 20 years, and I just love that hymn so much. Those are 2, and I know there's others.
You're at home right now, correct?
I am.
So do you sing around the house?
What's funny is actually I do, and that's more because the older you get, you have to keep those muscles working. So I sing a lot throughout the day, mostly because I just want to keep my vocal cords stretched. I do a lot of just rehearsing because each week now I get to sing, most weeks, at my church home. And so I'm always kind of preparing whatever the songs are for Sunday. And so I do sing a lot at home. And I have my piano in my office, which playing the piano just when no one's around, it's just such a calming thing for my spirit. I really do love that.
I read, or I should say listened to your book, The Voice, which we're going to talk a lot about today, that you were hired to teach Bill and Gloria Gaither's children how to play piano.
I was. So I started at Anderson University, and I thought, I need to get a job. And I thought, what, I bet I could teach piano lessons. And I knew the minister of music at one of the churches. I was actually the accompanist for the choir. And then he said, why don't you teach piano lessons? So I kind of did that. He made an announcement in church one Sunday, and I had several students that signed up to take piano. And two of those kids were Bill and Gloria Gaither's kids. And it was just so, fun and, to get a little bit of time with those amazing kids who are now these incredible adults, but also get to know Bill and Gloria at that time just a little bit more.
Before we started, Sandi, you had not had your coffee yet. And we're taping this. We're taping this in the morning, and I said, "Well, let's just give you about 5 minutes. With these K-cups, it doesn't take that long." And so
right.
I had this idea, and I ran down the hall to our music library because I had this "Was It a Morning Like This" flashback with you holding a cup of coffee,
right,
looking out the window toward Broken Arrow, Tulsa, talking to your friend David Warren about everything in your life right now. Tell us about your home. Do you have a grand piano in your home?
I do. And, Don and I, after raising 8 kids, we are empty nesters now. So we just have this sweet little 1-level, 2-bedroom house. It's just the best. And it has an office. And so the piano mover guy had to take my piano apart to get it in my office. It fit in the office. It just doesn't go through the door. So now I have my grand piano in the office where I can, work on music and upcoming concerts or whatever. And, and it's just really nice. I can work here, but I also have an office at our church because I'm the artist in residence at our church since I've kind of retired from being on the road so much. And it's just the best. I'm enjoying this season, but yes, we must have coffee. Must have coffee.
Well, you attend Crossings Community Church right here in Oklahoma City, if you're listening in the 88.1 FM listening area in central Oklahoma.
Yep.
And so an artist in residence, is that a title they made up for you? I've never heard of that.
Really, many churches now will have an artist in residence. Really, it's an idea that comes from the classical world. They will have an artist in residence who's the principal violinist or maybe a pianist. And so while they go out and do other things, because I still do other concerts here and there, most of my time is spent in my home church. And for me, what I love about it is, number one, I love just being home more, having a place where I can feel like I can offer some, experience from over the years. I can really speak into the generation that's coming behind me. What is worship? How do you engage with an audience? How do you connect with an audience? What does all of that look like? How do you sing parts? After Easter, it's our second time of doing a beginning piano and fairy class. And a lot of our choir members are taking it, and, they're just becoming better choir members. When somebody says, hey, go to measure so-and-so, bless their hearts, they used to, just go to the beginning and count the measures to measure 42 until you realize, there's little numbers all throughout a choral piece. And those are measure numbers, and that helps you kind of navigate your way through a song. And so we're just committed to raising the bar musically, the musical intelligence of our church. And I get to really play a big part in that, and I love it.
Are you in the choir, Sandi?
I'm not in the choir. Sometimes if I have no responsibilities, I will sing in the choir. But I work, usually while the choir is working, I work with the vocal team that is going to be out front on Sunday. And so that's kind of where I spend my time, is doing that.
I'm just picturing you being in the choir loft, being surrounded by the other sopranos.
Well, listen, there are many sopranos that I have gladly handed off the high notes to. We feel very blessed at our church.
Sandi Patty is our guest for the hour. When we come back, we're going to dive into this new autobiographical book that she has written, also voiced, by the way. I listened to it twice, enjoyed it. It's called The Voice. Sandi and I will be back after this. I'm David Warren, Program Director at Oasis Radio Network and one of the hosts of this podcast. All of our hosts enjoy hearing from you, our listening family, so drop us a note. Our email address is roadshow@oasisnetwork.org. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and you'll receive new episodes on your mobile devices. And now, back to the show. That is a clip of Sandi's signature song that she mentioned a little earlier, We Shall Behold Him, written by Dottie Rambo. And I had the chance to interview her a few times, and that woman was quite a trooper. I mean, she went through a lot of health issues. I remember one time she was in a lot of pain. You know, she had back trouble, Sandi, You know that. She did the entire interview lying down in her bed, but she was not about to cancel that. She loved being on the radio. Speaking of radio, Sandi, what is it like for you to hear your song on the radio as you're driving down the road?
Yeah, I remember the very first time that happened. I was driving through a little town somewhere, I think it was in Alabama. And I always tried to search for the, Christian radio station in the area to listen to. And I was just like, wow, that's really cool. And so I remember I had the driver get off the exit, and I went and found a payphone, because you couldn't just call on your cell phone because she didn't have a cell phone. Mm-hmm. And I called the station and just said, I just wanted you to know I just heard my song. Thank you for playing it. And it just always means a great deal. It really does.
Well, you were known and are known as the voice before that program on TV was even conceived. You were dubbed the voice by Word Records. I don't know if I would like that or not. That comes with a lot of pressure.
It's funny. I felt like that is a really, that's a very big statement to say. And I never really was crazy about that. They talked me into it because, branding was so important and all of that. But what they didn't know, of course, was the battle going on inside of me, that I didn't feel like I was the kind of person that had learned to really speak up for myself and to speak out about things. So that just always carried for me, just this double meaning of here they were calling me the voice, and they were talking about singing, and I was thinking, you know what, if you just only knew, I can't speak up. I didn't know that I could speak up to say to them, I really don't like that label that much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mentioned as well, not only in the book, but the last time you and I spoke about the record company printing your name incorrectly on your first LP that contained We Shall Behold Him. And I'm sure your heart sank when you opened that first record box and thought, of all the things to get wrong, my name, you misspelled my name.
Like, exactly. And yet, for the same reason, I'm thinking, it's going to be so much trouble for everybody to, go back and reprint everything. Fine, we'll just keep it. And it's just one of those mistakes that just stayed for a very long time.
So they spelled it Patti, and that's how you became known professionally until you began to use your voice, your inner voice, so to speak, and say, nope, it's Patty. That's how I was born, and that's who I am, Sandi Patty with a Y.
That is exactly right. And, it was really, as God was just cleaning up a lot of mistakes in my life, it just felt like this is the time to do that. And I know throughout Scripture, God often renamed people. It was their outward expression of what God had done inside their heart. And so it just seemed like a very good time to say, you know what, I just would really like to have my name back. And they were a little reluctant at first, but they very much understood and helped me do that.
Well, at that point, you were Sandi Patty, and so Sandi Patty can have a Y if she wants one, okay?
Well, it wasn't changing to something crazy, It was, let's take it back to what it was supposed to be.
Tell people your new last name.
So my married name is Pestless.
Sandi Patty Pestless.
Sandi Patty Pestless. So it's a good Greek name. And my husband grew up with a Greek family, and so Pestless. And, when people look at it, they think, oh, how do you even pronounce it? But it is really like it looks. It's Peslis, Pestless. Very easy.
So you were very, very candid in this new autobiography, The Voice, and I might just touch on some subjects, but we really won't go into them. That's something that the reader can enjoy or listen to and enjoy in that way. Was Dawn okay with you sharing all you shared in the book?
You know what? That's a great question, and I really appreciate you asking that. You're the only person who's ever really asked that. And I just want to thank you for that. And absolutely, yes, he was okay. We are so very much a team. And, what is my story is his story as well, and vice versa. And so we really we try to approach things like that. And so he was very supportive and, has gone through his journey as well in trying to bring closure to some areas. You can't always right those wrongs, but you can address them and bring some closure to them. And so his is just not quite as public as mine has been, but he's very much on board. And I just want you to know that I really appreciate you asking that question.
Oh, you're welcome. At the end of the audiobook that you can listen to, The Voice by Sandi Patty, he interviews you at the end. And, people are smarter than we give them credit for, Sandi. They can tell just by, for example, our conversation, they can tell if we're enjoying this, if we're getting along. Yeah. They know. And when I heard the sound of your voices together, you guys just sound in love.
He's my bestie. Both of us really wish, our regret is, I think there's ways to go about things in order and appropriately. And that is our big regret. But I realized, I think both of us realized maybe 4 or 5 years ago that we need to celebrate each other, that in trying to just honor our kids sometimes and not wanting to ever let them ever think we've forgotten what it costs them, that I think sometimes we didn't celebrate each other in front of them. And I think in the last probably 4 or 5 years, we realized, you know what? We do need to celebrate each other in front of them. And we know that we're forgiven. We know that we'll never forget what it cost our kids or other people. But we also, if we don't walk in the forgiveness that we believe we have, then we're not walking in what we believe to be true. So it's that simple, and he is my best friend, and we are enjoying this season of being empty nesters.
Well, you've touched on it enough. I'm not going deep. People can read the book, listen to the book. It's called The Voice. But I will say this, that your marriage, your union, is a result of 2 divorces, and that's all I will say about that during this interview, and that's what you're alluding to. But following the divorces and getting together as a couple, you had a lot of fear. What will the Christian community say? Will they still accept me as Sandi Patty, the minister? And you faced a lot of shame, self-loathing. You told a great story in the book that I think will really help a lot of people who also deal with something that's shameful in their life that they have not been able to let go of. And it involved your friend and life coach, Carolyn.
Yeah.
And she took you shopping at Lowe's, of all places. Tell us about going shopping.
My friend Carolyn Gill, she is an amazing life coach. And, you know, those handful of people who really, you know, walk alongside you through tough stuff. And she had just kind of had enough, really, of, you know, me just woe is me and just kind of carrying this shame. So she just said, you know what? Come on, we're going for a field trip. So we went to Lowe's, and she asked me to pick out a really heavy stone. She said, I want you to go and I want you to pick one up. And I didn't know what she was, you know, going for at the time, but I knew she had some agenda in mind. So I went and picked out, you know, one of those heavy, like, square stones that you might put in your backyard to make a path or something. And I brought it up to the register, and the guy said, hey, can I help you carry this out to the car? And I said, well, that would be great. And Carolyn said, no, she can do it. So I'm carrying this stone out to the car, and then I'm taking it to my car, and then I'm like, so what do I do with it now? And what is the point of all of this? And she said, Sandi, this is what you carry around every day when you carry your shame. And so as I carried it throughout the rest of the day, I realized how much it interfered with relationships. You know, I had to carry it with me everywhere, you know, to make dinner, to, you know, doing the homework for the kids. And I mean, it just began to interfere with my life. And to her point then at the end of the day was, isn't it about time to put it down? And, you know, I get to expand on that story a little bit more. And it's still one of the best visual articulations of when we carry shame, how that really begins to interfere in the quality of our life. And there is a time when it is okay to leave it at the foot of the cross.
Here's my summary of your book, Sandi Patty. The name of your book is The Voice, and I say that it is more than an autobiography. The book's purpose, in David Warren's opinion, is that you want to help others find their voice, which would mean face truth, be authentic, and heal properly. And I'll tell you what, I put a big star by this when you said these words: if you don't find and use your voice, you will self-medicate. Ding, 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 ding. I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to repeat that one.
Yeah. Okay.
If you don't find and use your voice,
Mm-hmm.
you will self-medicate. Anything you want to say about that?
No, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I think what happens is our voice very much wants to be heard. And when we silence it, or when situations silence it, or something happens and it gets silenced, it will still have a desire to be heard. And if we don't let it be heard, we're just continually going to try to shut it up, push it down, keep it quiet, and that's where the self-medication begins. So there is great freedom. Yes, great risk, but there is great freedom in giving yourself permission to speak out loud and speak your voice.
You know, Sandi, I hope things are changing. I believe they are, but there's been shame in the Christian community for admitting that you want to or are going to counseling or seeking therapy. And in my opinion, and I want to get your opinion before we take the break, it should be just as easy to say I have a therapist or a counselor as it is to say I have a trainer at the gym.
Yeah, agreed. And I have a counselor. He has become our spiritual director for Don and myself. We love counseling. We put high value on counseling. And let me tell you this, it is not the weak who go to counseling.
That's right.
It is the strong
That's right.
and the courageous who go to counseling, because it takes a very brave and bold person to begin to look at their life and have someone be able to reflect back and offer some insights that you can't get from people who walk every day with you. I am such a big fan of counseling. It is for the strong. Don't forget that. It is for the strong and the brave and the courageous.
I'm your Amen Corner. I'm David Warren, talking with Sandi Patty, author of The Voice, available wherever books are sold, plus the audiobook is narrated by Sandi herself. As we go to break, here is a song from the CD Forever Grateful, entitled Song of the Redeemed.
On every heart there is a stain that we could never wash away. Left on our own, we'd never sing the song of the redeemed. But through God's one and only Son, the cross he bore, his precious blood, oh, in his grace to us he brings the song of the redeemed.
I'm Karen Jensen Salisbury, one of the hosts you hear on the Oasis Network Roadshow. For 35 years, this 1 hour of the day has inspired and motivated you, our listeners, with thousands of stories of people whose lives demonstrate the truth that with God, all things are possible. It's an hour that you should make a part of your day, Monday through Friday, starting at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central. The Roadshow, an Oasis Network presentation.
That is the wonderful tune, Make His Praise Glorious. That's one that maybe Sandi sings around the house while she's dusting the grand piano.
Maybe.
Hey, the foreword to your new book, The Voice, is by Kathie Lee Gifford. Does she just go by Kathie Lee now? Just Kathie Lee?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, everybody knows her by Kathie Lee, but Kathie Lee Gifford.
Tell us about meeting her.
She's been a sweet friend for a long time. I met her when I did my very, very first Christian Booksellers convention.
And you used to watch her on TV. Let me just interject
this. I
this.
watched her on Name That Tune.
Yeah.
She was darling and lovely and sang all these great songs. And I just was a big fan of hers. So I was at the Christian Booksellers, the CBA, in St. Louis, and I had sung the night before, and I ran into her the next day, just kind of on the convention floor, And I said, oh, my goodness, you're Kathy Lee. And she said, and you're Sandi Patty. And I would say now she was a mentor for many years for me. But she was so gracious and, invited me to, whenever I'm out in California, please come and stay with her, which, I didn't realize then, being so young, that people didn't necessarily mean that when they would say that. But you know what? I took her up on it, and she meant it, and kind of showed up on her doorstep one day, and she was just as gracious then as she, continues to be. And she and I, we still chat on a regular basis, and she's just one of the champions for people in this world.
Some other important voices in Sandi Patty's musical career are these names, and just tell us a little quip or two about these people as I mentioned them. Mrs. Dominic.
Oh, my goodness. My voice teacher in college who helped me discover a whole new level of singing and caring for my voice and performing. She's just an amazing teacher.
I like the story you tell in The Voice, because you were singing in a lower register in music classes, and then you were giving a concert or part of some musical event, and you hit one of those famous Sandi Patty high notes. And she was blown away like the rest of us have been. And what did she say to you afterward?
Well, at first when I realized she was there, I thought, oh, man, I'm in trouble. Because, college voice teachers don't like you doing pop music. And so I saw her coming towards me after the concert, and I thought, oh, no, I'm in so much trouble. And she walked up to me, and she said, where has that voice been? She goes, starting Monday, we're going to find that voice. And she just a champion for bringing out the best in not only myself, but in the many students that she had throughout her tenure as a teacher.
You would have been discovered no matter what, but we can kind of credit it to next name on the list, or names, Bill and Gloria Gaither.
Bill and Gloria Gaither, I tell you what, they are alums of Anderson University. So when I started Anderson University in Indiana, not only did I have a couple of their kids for piano, but Bill was on the board of directors. And so I got to sing for them quite a bit around campus, and they'd hear me. And one day my phone rang, and Bill said, hey, we're looking for a singer to, come out with us on our next tour that was going to be a big arena tour, and, in the round, and lots of people. And he said, we've heard you sing at the studio and we think you'd be great. I said, wow, Bill, let me pray about it. Yes. I mean, there are just some things you don't need to pray about. It just was one of those God things. And so I was able to travel with them for about 5 years. And it was just the sweetest. And it was like being in a master class, watching how they would connect with the audience. And, I would be that annoying person, at who would, after the concert, now, why did you sing this song and not this one? Because you did this one last night. I would be that person with all those questions of why did you do this? And I just learned so much from being on the road with them, so much.
By the way, Sandi, I did not need to pray and ask God if I should interview you or not. I just went ahead and said yes.
Okay. David, you're so sweet.
One more name from your music past and hopefully present. David T. Clydesdale.
Yes. David and I worked in the studio at Gaither's studio. He was a choral arranger for Inspiration, which was in Grand Rapids. So they would come down to Anderson, where Bill and Gloria's studio was, And I was doing a lot of session work then. And so I was hired to do his stuff. And I absolutely loved his arranging, his orchestrating. And so when it seemed to be time for me to do my own project, it just was a natural to ask David if he would be part of that. And so he's the one really who made We Shall Behold Him really come to life. It was just a very simple piano voice kind of Southern gospel song, and David really kind of took it to the next level. And then he was also, the one behind the Star Spangled Banner when I got to record that for the rededication of the Statue of Liberty. So David and I, we got to be part of creating some really beautiful music over the years.
And because of that Statue of Liberty concert, Johnny Carson heard you, and you were on The Tonight Show not too long after that. Well, we're going to take one more break, Sandy. David Clydesdale will play us to break with a medley of some of his and our favorite Sandi Patty songs. I'm David Warren, here with some exciting news for Oasis listeners. We have a new mobile device app. It's free, easy to download, and lets you enjoy our refreshing music and talk everywhere you go. If you have an Android cell phone, go to the Google Play Store. And if you have an iPhone or iPad, visit the Apple Store and search for Oasis Radio Network. Be an Oasis ambassador and share this news with family and friends around the world. On today's program, what a pleasure it has been to have Sandi Patty with us, this time for the full hour. I am so pleased to call Sandi Patty a friend of the Oasis Network. We so enjoy playing your music here, Sandy, and we'll always do so.
Thank you so much.
Well, one of the big points of your book is about people finding their voice. And this is something that you and Dawn discovered together. So, Sandy, how do you ensure within your marriage that Sandy hears Dawn's voice and Dawn hears Sandy's voice?
Yeah. First of all, I love the questions you're asking today, and I am just simply blown away, and I'm going to tell my team when we get done with this interview that when we have something really big we need to announce, we're coming back to you because you know how to do it.
Thank you.
That's all I'm going to say. You really have a gift for this, and I thank you for
Sandy.
it. Dawn is an extrovert. And I, believe it or not, I know people don't believe it, but I am an introvert. I can act like an extrovert when I'm in front of people, but it's all about the way you recover. And so one of the things that Dawn and I do to understand each other is we first have to know ourselves. And so knowing that I'm a 6 on the Enneagram, that on the Myers-Briggs I'm an INFJ, that helps me know how I am wired. Don is a 7 on the Enneagram, and he is an ENFP. So the way we recover for the first, is very different. And when I get off the road, I recover by hibernating. The more people for him, the better. So we had to, number one, have had to learn that with each other. I don't always need him to listen to me, but when I do, I've learned now to say, I have something to say, and for 5 minutes, I need your attention. And he will give that to me just without the phone, without checking texts, without anything. He likes to talk, And he doesn't always need me to engage in that conversation. He likes to talk out loud. That's how he thinks. And so I have learned I don't have to always take that in and solve it. I can just be a sounding board for him. So I think learning ourselves, know ourselves so we can lead ourselves, has helped us be better partners in knowing how to be there for each other.
One really great tip that you give in the book, and listeners, this is a takeaway moment, so remember this one. This is a pestless family dinner ritual.
Mm-hmm.
And you started this with your kids because, when you ask a kid as you're getting ready to have dinner, and that may be your first interaction with them, in the PM hours, how was your day? How are things at school? Fine. Okay. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So take it, Sandy. You know where I'm going with this.
Yeah. You're not going to get a lot of details by saying, how was your day? It'll either be, it was okay. So I knew that I wanted to establish a better system for communicating. I didn't always, in my family of origin, we didn't have a lot of tools for communication. And so I knew that I wanted to raise the bar a little bit. And I knew that I wanted my kids to talk to me when they were teenagers. So what did I need to do now to establish that we can talk together? So Don and I decided we would do this, and we still do this.
I've been doing this. I do this with friends.
Really? I love that.
Yes.
It's a great conversation starter, if you're going out with adults, too. You just say, hey, tell me something good about your day. Or tell me something that wasn't so good. We called it high, low. What was a high thing of the day? What was a low thing of the day? Because what it does is it teaches people, our kids, how to listen. It encourages those who don't naturally speak up that they're going to have to speak up. And it also establishes that it's okay that there was something not good about the day. It's okay. The world is not going to come to an end if you say, you know what, today was a hard day because. So we established that when they were young, and, it was just, we had peas for lunch. That was a low, and we had extra recess time. Might have been a high. But as they got older, the high-lows became, they were deeper and they were richer because we had already established that we could talk together. And so sometimes the kids will say to us things now that we're like, we could have done without hearing that. But, be careful what you pray for. The takeaway is for us, we are so grateful that they can tell us stuff. And, sometimes they've told us some really, really hard stuff. But I'm so thankful that they can.
And that's what it means when we use our voice.
Yeah.
Sandi Patty has been our special guest with us for the hour. The new book you can check out at either the bookstore or you can download the audiobook read by Sandi herself. It's called The Voice. And Patty is spelled P-A-T-T-Y as you look that up.
Yes.
And
yes, it is.
As we get ready to say goodbye, Sandi, I jotted down some random questions over the last few hours that maybe didn't work themselves into the interview, but I thought I'm interested in the answers to these. So here we go.
Okay. All right.
Favorite Sandi Patty concert of all time? I'm talking about one that you gave.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I have to say, on this last tour, Forever Grateful, having my kids with me and my husband and a band was so special. And the church that we did in Nashville, Christ Church, and then my home church here in Oklahoma City, Crossings Community Church. Those just stand out by far as two of my favorite concerts ever.
Favorite venue to sing in the United States?
You know what? This sounds so name-droppy, and I don't mean it to sound like that. But I have to say Radio City Music Hall.
Wow.
It was pretty awesome.
Your high note?
Like right out of college high note or now?
The highest note.
An F above high C.
Okay, what is that stratospheric note you sing at the end of the Star-Spangled Banner?
That is a D flat.
So you were 2 steps above that.
That's correct.
Wow. Your low note?
An F below middle C. And I really like singing in that range these days.
Best female vocalist that you've heard?
My favorite?
Uh-huh.
Natalie Grant, hands down.
Best male vocalist?
I gotta go with Larnell Harris. Come on.
You do.
I mean, come on.
You'd be in trouble.
He's unbelievable.
Favorite musical?
Favorite musical? Sound of Music.
All right. I could see or hear you doing that part in my head. 5 more questions to go.
Yeah.
Music CD in your car right now?
Well, I don't do CDs a lot anymore. I download them. And, I go to playlists now, and people just make up my mind for me. I can't even think of one right now.
All right.
In a minute, I'll probably go, oh, it was this one. So,
Starstruck when meeting?
If I ever met her, it would be Barbra Streisand.
Okay, starstruck when meeting somebody you've already met?
Kristen Chenoweth.
Isn't she great?
Yes.
She's a Broken Arrow gal.
I know. And she and I have become just buddies, and it's pretty cool. So.
All right. Famous person in your cell phone's contacts?
I actually have Tony Dungy's cell phone number in here. Tony Dungy was the coach for the Indianapolis Colts forever. And when they won the Super Bowl. And I am an NFL crazy person. I love NFL. And so he texted me one time and wanted me to write something for his book. And so I just kept his number, and I just think he's pretty awesome.
All right. Best gift from a fan. You call them friends, but from a fan.
Mm-hmm.
Best gift.
I got a Sandi Patty bobblehead.
I love it.
Sparkly shoes and everything. It's in my office to this day.
Okay, final question of my random questions. Best way for a fan to approach you. What should he or she say?
I think that if someone who has come in contact with my music and it has meant something to them, I love when people will say to me, God used your music to do something very significant in my life. That is just about one of the sweetest things that anyone could ever say.
Listeners, if you would like to say something to today's guest, you can visit the website sandipatty.com, SandiPatty.com. And how can I say thank you? But thank you, Sandi, for this hour.
And thank you so very much. God continue to bless you and all that you do as you use your voice and the voice of this network to just spread God's amazing love.
Beautifully said. Well, for Sandi Patty, I'm David Warren, and it's been another great road show. You've been listening to The Road Show. If you'd like to write to us, here's our address. The Road Show, P.O. Box 1924, Tulsa, Oklahoma, 74101. Our email address is roadshow@oasisnetwork.org. The views of today's guest aren't necessarily those of this station, but we do appreciate and thank our guest for spending this time with us. The Road Show, an Oasis Network presentation.